currently handles app growth at Betterhalf.ai. And before that, he was responsible for scaling products like FilterCopy, Dice Media, and PayTm Insider. Today, he'll be sharing his insights on how to scale the consumer apps. And all of you are requested to please turn on your cameras, make the session more interactive. And if you have any questions for Sindhu, please use the chat section, put them all there, and we'll take them up at the end of the session. All right, then, Sindhu, over to you.
Hey, Divya, hi. First of all, a big thanks to you and your community for inviting me here. This is my first time. I guess I heard about your community on Twitter Spaces. Somewhere, some guy must have asked
Okay.
me to join, and it's quite interesting to meet people from the other side and hang out. Generally, I keep on hanging out every time with marketers, and it becomes boring every time. So yeah, big thanks, and thank you everyone, folks, on a Sunday evening for coming up and trying to listening to me. I'll keep it extremely short, extremely crisp. I'm not gonna give any generic kind of stuff that you already know or you must have read in books. This is only crisp insights that I have learned from wherever I have worked in the past. And these are not prescriptions. This has worked for me. Does not mean it will work for you, but feel free to test it out, whatever I'm gonna say. Uh, Let me share my screen and give me a heads up if it is visible. I hope it should be.
Yep.
All right. The screen is visible, no? Okay, fine.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Perfect. Welcome everyone. Very crisp context about what I have done specifically and where my expertise lie. Currently, I handle app growth and digital marketing at Betterhalf.ai. It's a new age matrimony app that we are building. It's a Y Combinator backed company. Basically, you can imagine if Tinder was only for serious people without hookups, without casual dating, and only for matrimony, without parents' intervention. It's that kind of an app. And before this, I have my fair share of learnings with FilterCopy, Dice Media. I was handling web series promotions and channel growth there. Extremely being obsessed to find out how viral things happen, how to scale videos, how YouTube virality happens, and stuff. Before that, I was working with PayTm Insider, which used to be called Insider.in. I was handling movies for PayTm, movies marketing, and events marketing for Insider.in. Prior to that, I was in a social networking app. I was a founding member of that. So combined all of the learnings that I had since a very short time, I'm putting it in a very compact slides, and I'll try to do justice to everything. Just a second. Let me try to navigate my screen. Yes. Perfect. So in the session, we'll be talking about all the paid channels. By paid channels, I basically mean the performance marketing side of the world, all the organic channels, the basic branding, and the basic retention. Just a disclaimer, the learnings that I'm sharing does not apply to B2B. It specifically applies to B2C, especially from the consumer internet apps. So if you're in a gaming company, or if you want to go into a gaming company, if you want to go into a social networking app, dating, matrimony, e-commerce, or anything that has got social relevance, these are the learnings that might be absolutely interesting to you and you might take it forward. First things first, I absolutely believe in this concept. There is a very simple framework that generally most of the people know. And if you have never heard about it, I genuinely believe you should take a note of it and Google it after this. It's AA triple R framework. And my if I look back in my days when I first joined a social networking app, I had no idea about what the hell is this. And I think that was the biggest mistake. I wish someone had told me. And the biggest misconception that we do is if you're starting a new company with someone, if you're not tracking mid-level metrics, if you're only tracking upper funnel metrics. For an example, user comes to the Play Store, they install, you are tracking installs, you are tracking signups. And if you're only chasing that, trust me, you are falling into an absolute rabbit hole that leads to nowhere. Everyone in 2021 knows that DAUs and MAUs are good to say, but those are still vanity metrics. It doesn't make any sense if retention is broken. And we know if you put all the product managers and marketing guys in one room, and if you ask everyone, if you ask all of the folks that, hey, just take a pledge and tell where you're working, are you actually solving retention? Half of the people will say that, hey, no, our retention is broken, because that's what the reality is. And that's why I feel that it is extremely important to design this funnel from day one, track this funnel week on week. So what happens is, when you start designing this funnel, you will see your acquisition to an activation percentage week on week, month on month. How is it changing? And if you start tracking it down, and if you do this exercise for, let's say, 2 months or 3 months, you'll get a reality picture that where is the bucket leaking. Maybe you will get a real picture that, hey, my acquisition to activation conversion is pretty low. Then I might ask my product person to do a better job in beach ka part. Or you might ask the performance marketer to say that, hey, maybe you are not getting quality leads. So this becomes extremely important to track. This is one. Second, the moment you start tracking this is a very basic thing that generally people do, is all of the performance marketer do, is we take a sense of pride in saying that, hey, my cost per install is very low. You may have heard folks around you, friends of yours, saying that, hey, 50 rupees cost per install. You may have seen founders shouting at marketing managers that, hey, why my cost per install is very high. It's an absolute irrelevant metric, is what I have learned through the time. I remember watching an interview with Deepak Abot, and Deepak said in that interview that at Paytm we stopped tracking CPIs, and we were only tracking cost per retained user. And I think that makes absolute sense for any company. There is no reason to track this metric, and the reason is very simple. I'll tell you a very basic scenario that happened just 15 days back. There is one campaign of mine that is running at a CPI of 20 rupees. That campaign is giving me very bad cost per registered users. The cost is very high. But there is another campaign that is 20 rupees higher CPI, but the cost per registered user is very low. Now imagine if someone in the first year of their career, they're not looking at that column, which is cost per registered user or anything else, and if you're only tracking the CPIs, you are actually burning more money. You are not saving money. So start tracking mid funnel metrics from day one, no matter which stage you are. You could be at a stage that you are launching the product. I will say the start tracking that from day one. This is what I have understood with time. This no one told me in the first 2 years, but this is pretty interesting. That uh, divide your budgets gender wise, and here are my reasons to that. This may apply to some company, may not apply to some companies. The reason I'm saying is this: the averages game, when you show it to your founder or anything, or your marketing head, the numbers that you show is average. Let's say if it is cost per retained user, let's say if it is cost per installer or whatever, you get an average of men and women. And if you really deep dive, you will know that men generally are 90%, 95% of your traffic. Only 5% are women. Then what happens with time is, especially it becomes absolutely important if you're building a social network. You need to maintain the sex ratio in the social network, because otherwise what happens is, if there are too many men on a social network, women will start leaving because they will not start finding their friends. And if you do not divide the budgets, you are acquiring a lot of men, you are burning a lot of money, and you are not maintaining a balance. So at Betterhalf, what we do is we track both completely separately, and all the top to mid-level metrics is segregated, so that I have a clear picture that what are my CPIs, what are my cost per retained user, cost per registered user, cost per verified user of men and then women. And accordingly, I can play around. Accordingly, I can say that, hey, maybe we need to do a better job in women because men are easy to acquire. So let's decrease the cost in men. Or I can say that, hey, maybe I need a referral only for women, not for men. So that's why it becomes super duper important, especially if you're building a consumer internet startups. I have not seen a lot of companies doing that, but I think there is a certain merit to that. Moving ahead, this is a pretty interesting thing that I learned in my last company. And let me put things into perspective. There's a great website and a YouTube channel called as NFX. I think everyone should check it out. It's an absolutely great website if you want to learn more about network effects. And no one, I have never seen anyone cracking network effects and understanding how true concept of science behind virality is in a product framework scenario or in a marketing framework scenario. And at FilterCopy, what I learned was, uh, so at FilterCopy, even if you meet any writer who is writing a script, it could be a 20-second meme also. If you ask that, hey, why did you write this story? The reasoning that they will give you is, hey, I think that this certain cohort of audience will share. Basically, the point is that everyone at Pocket Aces know how cohorts can be designed, and a story is written by thinking of a certain cohort so that shareability increases, and then it translates into the video team also, and then it translates into the marketing team, that how should we reach to that particular audience. And then the game is this, that your virality, or whatever you may call it, can only come if you have very high shareability. If you are tracking shares, no other metric but only shares. Interestingly, what and generally, if you are an avid Instagram user, what people do is you put out content, you click on insights, then you see how many number of shares are there. That's what generally people do. Interestingly, what I thought is, why can't I actually implement that scenario in the paid ads as well on the Facebook dashboard, and try to see, is there any ad of mine which people are sharing? Because generally what people do is people think that, okay, performance marketing ads are salesy ads, so we should be tracking CPC, cost per click, cost per install, and whatsoever. This is pretty interesting. What I found is, the logic that I put is this, that the amount spent that you have on your dashboard, you can actually go to Facebook dashboard, and I have shared a screenshot. You can click on create custom metric. You can actually create as many custom metric you want. It is completely up to you just put the formula. And the formula is this: the amount spent divided by share will give a column which will tell me cost per share of that particular ad. The day I did that, interestingly, what I found, that there are some ads which is giving me cost per share which is lesser than 10 rupees. Now, what does it say? This tells me that one person watches my ad, they clicked on install, it's absolutely fine. Facebook charged me for install 100 rupees, 50 rupees, whatsoever. But if I'm getting a cost per share at 10 rupees or 5 rupees, that basically means that person is giving me one install. Facebook is charging that particular installs cost from my bank account. But when that person is sharing, Facebook is not charging me for that. And when they are sharing, what is happening is, if they have 2000 followers on an Insta on an average, 2000 divided by half is, let's say, 1000. Okay, if I divide by half, if 500 people are watching their story, basically I got an additional impressions or additional reach that I did to the people. Now apply this on scale. If you have 1 lakh budget per day, when you are doing this at scale, you are actually multiplying your ad benefits, because now your ad is not just working on one-to-one installs, it is having a multiplier effect. And generally you will see that there are not a lot of ads which will have a great cost per share. There are only 1 to 2 ads in your dashboard, but the game is to double down on that, so that you have a healthy balance of doing that. uh, Pretty interesting that the day you start doing this, trust me, is the day if you are tracking, let's say, or if you have a model that tracks organic growth, or if you have a model that tracks NPS or whatsoever, you will see an increment value improvement with time. And replicated this in the past company works, replicating this in the existing company works. So there is certain amount of truth to it, but you can feel free to apply and then see how it works for you. Just a disclaimer, I can bet in India, if there are 100 companies, at least two companies can say that my cost per share is less than 50 rupees, because generally a lot of performance marketers sucks at creating good ads. We do not do justice to creating good ads, and then cred comes, create a great ad, and then we say that, hey, how come they are doing, find who is that production house who did that. So that's the whole problem in that. But the day you crack that, you will see that network effects grows. Chase shareability via social media content, paid marketing, referral campaigns, product communications. Just I personally am absolutely obsessed with shares, and the reason is this: I genuinely believe, and I guess a lot of product managers and product leaders feel the same as well, that the day they will be super duper happy when a lot of referrals come in, because then they know that, hey, people don't just like my product, they love my product, that's why they are referring. And we keep on giving this examples every time, that Airbnb did this, Dropbox did this, but I really don't know that anyone has cracked in India, an Indian context, any other than fintech apps. I genuinely think that fintech apps are doing genuinely great in terms of referral marketing. Paytm is one of the great examples in terms of just word of mouth shares that they got in the early stages. Uh, and the reason is, the day you become absolutely obsessed with shares, and you have an internal model or a framework that works on that, that your copywriter understands, and they track shares, nothing else, is the day you will see that there is an incremental growth. And I will try to prove it with some substantial facts, why I say that every communication that you have inside your stack, it could be a product communication, it could be anything, has a certain kind of shareability concept. This is 2018. I was working with Insider, and we did a crazy experiment that happened out of a mistake. And this is a very small story that I'm sharing. So I was working on a mini project where we were building something called as interactive digital events, which is basically that at a certain amount of time, you come on the app, and there is a quiz show that is happening, hosted by Rohan Joshi. Rohan Joshi, if you don't know, he's an ex All India Bakchods famous guy, and he is hosting the quiz show. There are 5 questions. If you answer 5 questions right, I give you a Paytm movie voucher worth 200 or 300. Now I was handling Clever Tap for the first time that time, and we were sending push notifications, and I was sending it manually. So I was supposed to send Rohan Joshi is live now, but I mistakenly sent Roshan Joshi is live now. And if anyone has never worked in an influencer marketing team, you will get killed if you spell your influencer's name wrong. The account manager or the manager will come to your house, and they will start shouting at you. And that's what happened. A lot of people started making fun on Twitter, that, hey, someone is going to get fired. Is this some intern cracking? And what I did is, I thought that in India there is a concept that if you repeat the same mistake a lot of times, people think that, okay, this is a campaign or something. And that's what I did. I pitched Rohan that, hey, I'm not going to say sorry on the next push notification. What if I make a typo every week that you come? And the typo will be funny. So I will next time name you as Rogan Joshi at 1 p.m. So I did that. There is a screenshot. The moment I sent Rogan Joshi in the house, people started taking screenshots and putting it out on their Insta stories. The exact same concept that you see Zomato effect, which happens when they send a funny or anything that talks to you as a human. Uh, Now, the concept that I'm trying to tell you is this: that if you look inside the company, the push notification is done generally to improve your app open rates. It gives a very slight increase in DAUs, which doesn't matter a lot. You are doing 10,000 DAUs, you will do 1100 DAUs. It doesn't reflect on your appraisals also, so it doesn't matter a lot. But what if you actually use our product comes with genuinely good copywriting, and if you start talking to people with great copywriting, you will see that the channel which was supposed to just be a clickable channel where someone clicks, a deep link opens and you take to a certain page, suddenly that channel gets converted into a social media UGC campaign. So the point that I'm trying to put in your head is, inside our existing stack, there are a lot of channels that we can see there is a solid viral potential inside that, and we can actually challenge the status quo, and we can challenge the playbook Because if Zomato effect is true in this date, ask anyone who passed out MBA in 2015 or in 2013, they will say that, hey, product communications cannot be made as a UGC campaign, a user generated communication campaign. So the point is, just try to look at growth hacks inside your stack and you will find a lot of things, provided you are a good copywriter. I'm taking that as a note. And the so my model of working is this. Generally, I try my best to educate a lot of founders, because genuinely I do not like this, that how obsessed founders are with followers. And I think that's an absolutely irrelevant metric. The moment you give and I'll tell you why. The moment you give your social media team that uh, hey, we have to improve 10% followers week on week, I can bet no one in this whole world can say that no one can own that metric. No one can see that, hey, if I post this meme, I will get 500 followers. No one can own that metric. So now my point is this, that if someone is not owning a KPI, then why are you giving that KPI? It doesn't make any sense. And everyone knows that followers are not the metric. I myself sit at 11,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is nothing, because if you ask anyone who is big on LinkedIn by followers, you will see a lot of people whose engagement rates is like 0.1%, 0.5%. So that mathematics does not even work, that 11,000, 1.5, 0.5% engagement, and how will I scale it? It doesn't work. So rather, what I think is this: you should chase shares, have a week on week share improvement, create content ideas, content buckets. In social media term, we call it buckets, and say that, hey, these buckets are designed for shares. These buckets are designed for comments. The moment you see that those buckets are not giving you shares, drop those buckets. This is exactly how I used to work in Pocket SS. This is exactly how I'm trying to make my existing social media team convinced, and they are working on that right now. And I believe that you should pick at least 2 social media channels, not a lot of social media channels. Does not make any sense. Do not pick Facebook if Facebook is not doing good. I don't know why a lot of uh, half of the Bangalore based companies and half of the Mumbai based companies are on Facebook. They're just posting the content out there where 1-2 likes is coming, and that social media manager is facing an existential crisis, that why the hell am I doing that stuff? And I'm like, why do you want to exist on that platform if it is not working for you? Just even if you don't exist, nobody will care. So just pick 2 social media, nail that social media, then move forward, rather than creating five accounts on 5 different channels and then posting the same content everywhere. And then after 1 year, go to a Clubhouse and rant that, hey, my this is not working, how do I fix? And then someone on Clubhouse will say a generic idea that you should be doing great content, and the founder also knows that, hey, I should be doing great content, so where is the insight in that? So it doesn't work that way. The last 2 points are extremely critical, and these are my personal beliefs. Hire people who are creators themselves. I genuinely believe in this statement. The moment you hire a social media manager or a brand manager who never created a single piece of content for themselves on Facebook and Instagram, it will not work. I have seen this a ton of times. I have seen a ton of founders hiring people from no offense, from IIMs and from the great brand managers, but the target is to grow social media. But the problem is social media is very content heavy game, and if they don't know how to create a content, then what happens is they act as strategist, and they start telling that, hey, let us get an agency on board. So basically you are burning more cost. So it's far better to hire a creator who is in the final years of their BBA. They will do a far better job than anyone who is a brand manager coming from an MNC or something. There is no offense, but I'm just saying that if you're able to get an MNC person with who is also a creator, that's a great add-on to your game. And as I already shared, there is a cost per share metric. Obsessively track that. The moment you start tracking that, you will see your Instagram game is on next level. This is specifically for Instagram, I'm saying, because Facebook, uh, we know, I will not comment anything about Facebook. And this is what I have understood with time after a lot of data analysis. I did at least a 5,000 videos data analysis at FilterCopies, at Dice Medias, and we genuinely saw this works every time. That there are certain emotional triggers that generate shares. It's not that you create anything and it will create shares, and there are a combination of these emotions. So the first biggest combination is actually relatable plus funny, but there is a certain kind of caveat to it. So what happens is you cannot just create anything that is relatable and funny and it will work. What you need to do is very something. I'll try to put it in a very simple way. If you have, let's say, 100 followers on your Instagram or in a Facebook or YouTube or anywhere, go to the insights and try to find out what those people do. So the reason I'm telling you is this: let's say if 90% of your people on your Instagram are, let's say, people who are techies and not MBAs, and your brand is about, let's say, advertising. You want to put out advertising content. The moment you put it out, 90% of the people will reject because that is not relatable for them, because the people you already have is very different. So the right way is first get those people who you want as this relatable audience. And there is a paradox here. When you start from day one, you don't have anyone. So make sure you do not confuse the algorithm. Just start putting out the exact same kind of content every time, and train the algorithm of Instagram that, hey, my page is just about this. So for an example, let's say you are creating just for product managers an Instagram page. The day you start confusing the algorithm by putting out marketing memes, some offbeat memes, architecture memes, civil engineer memes, it will start getting confusing. So just don't do that. Second one is inspiring versus motivational. We know this is a pretty big category. Reels are working great. If you create short reels around that, you might see a certain kind of traction. But again, always check insights. If any reel is giving you more reach and not more shares, I personally would rather not do that reels more number of times. There are a lot of people who will say that, hey, we will do because the views is high. I don't literally care about views. I care about shares, because that is the hardest thing to get. You can get views because view is 3 seconds. I believe view is equal to an impression. An impression is what, half of a second. View is just vanity metric. Likes are pretty easy to get. Comments are, I mean, theek hai. It's an agreement or disagreement, but the most hardest thing to get is a share on any platform. So rather optimize your internal company according to that. Uh, the last metric is information that makes someone show off that they are smart. This is a pretty interesting nuance that I found is, so we used to so I used to do something called as aha score. And the aha score works like this: that let's say if I am inside a community of marketers where there are 20 marketers inside a room, and I know the profiling. I know that they are most of the marketers are, let's say, 3 years of experience. Now if I go there and say that, hey, I will tell you how a Facebook ads work, the 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 interaction will not be the same, because the aha score is very less. But the aha score, I mean basically this: that that moment when you say that, hey, I did not know this, I learned something new, where your insight level is super duper high. Basically, this is the same logic that Cred is trying to follow. The communications that you will see on Cred's Instagram channel, on Cred's emails, you will see they're trying to increase the nerdy level to that extent that people will share, hey, I heard about this news from no one else. Cred shared me. Because what happens is, the person who is nerd, they try to show off by saying that, hey, I read same kind of content every day. That's why Twitter, you will see that whenever someone finds interesting, they are sharing it. Not because they just want to do a charity service, because they want to show subtly to other people that, hey, I am smarter than you. So that particular score, if you improve to a certain extent, you will see that it is working to another level. This is another thing. Retention is also important in content. It's just not on product, on apps. Any true person, any true content marketer, the way I do the hiring or on the interview round is, I ask them that, hey, do you know how to read a retention graph on content? Half of the people will get deselected or unselected because a lot of people do not know how to read retention on content. And this is a very simple graph differentiation, how it works, that you have a 4-minute content, let's assume, on YouTube or something. Now YouTube gives you a graph. It's a full graph. The level of YouTube's graph is to that extent that if you hover on the dip, you can see at which point of frame scene the dip happened. So you can watch the sequence once again, and then you can imagine that, hey, what happened in that sequence that my views got less or people are skipping. And the graph generally looks like this, that if you have a flat line, you are doing great. No one in India has a flat line. If you have a gradually slow line, slowly declining, it's a good scenario. Wherever sometimes you will see that there are spikes in the YouTube's graph, or on Facebook also you can see graph that basically mean that the people are rewatching. They are actually moving back and they are watching, or they're sharing. Now, what happens in content marketing is whenever you have a spike, what marketers do, a genuine good marketer, they take that scene, they write it in a Google Excel sheet, and they create meme content out of it. The reason is they know already that, hey, people are interested in this scene, they're rewatching it, which means people have a higher recall value, which means if I create micro content, if I create memes around it, it will work. So this is how we use cross-functional marketing channels, and we keep on replicating. And whenever you have dip, that basically means that people are skipping that part. Generally, I have seen that whenever there is a song coming up, people skip. Whenever there is a brand integration coming, people skip. And whenever there is a steady shot, so let's say the video is pretty fast, and then there is a very slow motion, and it's boring, and it's super long, one monologue coming up, people then skip. So this is how the retention happens, and the data also speaks a narrative that you can apply on any other channels as well. Which brings me to very short uh, my understanding around branding, that if you're starting up a company, day one, your single line proposition should be absolutely uniform, and it should be simplest. For an example, let's say you are building a fintech for Gen Z, like a FamPay or something. The most I think the most bad or a most complicated thing that a founder or anyone else can do is, if the bios on all social media platform is um, building for the next generation. I mean, that is so vague. That is so vague that no one understands what is it, because your name is already vague. So let's say your name is X-Men as a fintech app. That name is vague by itself. The job of a single liner proposition is to define that. Now, if my liner proposition is already that building for the next generation, I'm creating a super vague scenario. Now, let me tell what could be a better scenario. Helping helping teenagers to take better credit decisions. You can even simplify helping college students to not pay to not live on parents money. This you the moment you do it super duper simple, what happens is you have a very simplistic understanding of branding, and that actually translates when you start doing a massive scale campaign, because then people know that, hey, X-Men app is for teenagers, not for me. So you will not have a lot of bounce rates, and they are trying to solve this problem. This is one. Second is our design language should be uniform. Everyone knows that. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not follow. You will see that there is bluish colors on Instagram, there is greenish on Facebook. The website looks like another cred design. The app looks like another Amazon design. And you are sitting and thinking that, hey, what is happening? Either the teams are not talking to each other, or it's just 5 different freelancers working on 5 different projects. Just don't do that. And just don't do that. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why people do that. I think it's people issue. It's not a thinking issue. And especially if you're in early stage, this is what I believe, that don't hire a brand manager, rather hire a content creator and give him or her the branding course. Pay from company salary. Trust me, you will save a lot of cost, and that person will do a better job than the brand manager, because you don't need a brand manager in the early stage. A lot of people, what they do is they get brand managers from brand managers from big companies, but you don't need at the early stage. Brand managers generally come when you have a massive media mix where a lot of communications are happening and you yourself are confused how to position. But generally, you don't need it in the early stages. So just save that. So just save that cost. Chase upper middle funnels and attribution from day one. Generally, this is a generic mistake. People do not get MMP partners like branch.io and other channels on board. They do not track all of the marketing spends that are happening. I think that that's the biggest mistake. I do understand your billing per month might overshoot by 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, but generally a lot of companies these are giving you a free credit for 1 year at least. Even if they're giving you for 6 months, trust me, you will save a lot of cost. If you are not involving an attribution from day one, you just don't know where your ads money is going. And I have seen that it's all over the place. It's a very bad scenario. And use moment marketing in ads. This is what I designed just 2 days back, just to show you, just to put something inside your head how design thinking might work. And the logic is this. Now, what happens, and this goes for every product manager who is running, let's say, an in-app push notification campaign inside the app or anything else. So now the Olympics is going on, right? Now, what people generally think is we will do moment marketing and we will talk about Olympics on Twitter, on Instagram. Generally, a lot of people do not do moment marketing inside the ads, inside the product comms. Uh, and how you can do is this, that can I take two different variables which are not related to each other? So this is just an experiment to push your brains to think what I'm trying to say. Olympics, my product is, let's say, an app which does UPI payments, for an example, like a phone pay or something, and I'm calling it Sindhu Pay, for an example, let's say. uh, Sindhu Pay as a UPI fintech app has got nothing to do with Olympics. I'm not selling shoes. I'm not a Nike. I'm not selling sportswear or anything else. So generally, it's a very easy thing for a sports brand to think that, hey, we will talk about Olympics. But how can Sindhu P utilize it? So I thought that, okay, Olympics is pretty hard to crack because people take a lot of time and a lot of efforts is the right word to build for that. So if UPI payments is the pain point, because we all know Google Pay's decline rates, and if that is the pain point, what if I try to relate the UPI payments with Olympics? I show an Olympic ad, and then I say that, hey, doing UPI payments feel like an Olympic sport? Basically, it's asking that, hey, is it very hard for you? Try Sindhu Pay. Subliminally saying that, hey, we are not as hard as an Olympic sport. And you can create a campaign around it, full campaign around it. Put a swimming picture, put a hurdle race picture. Doing UPI payments feel like an Olympic sport. Try this, try that. The idea is this, that generally when these ads run on Facebook, what happens is, let's say you are a fintech app, you talk about XYZ talk points. The rest of the five people are also talking about the same talking points. By five people, I mean five competitors. When everyone is talking about the same talking points, your audience size is the same. There is nothing that is differentiating except the ad design or something else. That's why when cred takes completely unrelated people, two variables, uh, Alka Agnic has got nothing to do with OTP. uh, that's the bread campaign also on the magic pin. You take any campaign that has got viral, you also the old ads, let's say the Pidlight ads, the Happydent ads, where what has the Happydent got to do with teeth shining where people are throwing spotlights on the road, or Pidlight where the fisherman is putting a rod and then fishes are coming. It's weirdity, and there is certain the weirdness becomes viral, and you can actually take moment marketing in that. So this is just one use case to show that how you can force your mind around that, and all the product managers and every communication can follow around that. At the end, trying to wrap everything whatever I have shared, the context is this, that no matter however complications that you try to make, and the backend, your backend can be complicated, but your front end should be absolutely simple. That simplicity I just shared in the product communication also. If you are a fintech app, say it in a simple way. We try to help college students to pay their bills. And all the good product communications are simpler in nature. They are not complex. The moment you go into complex, you're actually burning a lot of cash and not actually doing anything else. That's all I had to say. I'm happy to take a lot of questions that people have, and I'll just stop speaking now. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Sindhu. That was pretty awesome. Lots of insights. I must say, guilty of a lot of things that you pointed out. So at Traders of Products, I am currently taking care of the social media and outreach. I am not from the background of social media or outreach, but as a volunteer-driven community, I took it up, and definitely guilty of a lot of things that you mentioned. So thanks for that. There were a lot of things that I got to learn. I'll before we jump into the chat section, I just wanted to touch base upon a few things that you mentioned. You talked a lot about the mid-level metrics in terms of how folks should be tracking mid-level metrics, and you've already touched based upon cost per retention. What are some more of the metrics that you would suggest that folks should definitely be looking at? If you could pick, let's say, 3 metrics that everyone should be looking at.
Right. So for sure. So generally, what I do is if you go to whatever mix panel or whatever you are using, just check the flow. This is exercise that I do. I know other people may have something else. Check the flow that is happening post app install. The first 3 touch points will tell you the reality. So if app launch is the first touch base, and the next thing that happens is registrations, or which is a login event, you should be tracking cost per registrations. Let's say if the second thing that happens is people generally launch the app and they click on a certain tab, let's say, or they click on a certain banner, then you can actually have cost per dash banner, provided that banner clicks is very, very high. That means that basically tells you that a lot of people are actually clicking that. So at Betterhalf, what we do is right now we track cost per registrations and cost per verified users also. So verification event is basically, the Tinder event where you register and then the verification event fires up. So we track that. And then the last level metrics also, cost per purchase. But genuinely, if you're an early stage startup, I would not do end funnel metric. I would rather do the upper funnel metrics.
Right. So going back to Betterhalf, you talked about, how the gender ratios are so skewed that most of the times you're marketing entirely towards a specific gender and not including both.
Right.
What are some of the things that have worked for you in terms of attracting keeping the balance right? One. Second, do you think the product that we are building, some of the features of the product, do they play an essential part in creating that gender ratio, or the difference in the gender ratio?
First of all, it's pretty hard to crack the gender ratio. The reason is all the social networking apps are also having this gender ratios issues.
Of course.
So Facebook's MAUs and DAUs are by default skewed towards. This is very basic.
Yeah,
the population
right.
itself is skewed.
Yeah, of course.
So what happens is so the generic the decision making metric that I generally has done is the moment I see that, hey, my men organic traffic is pretty high than my women organic traffic, then I will reduce the cost in doing men specific ads, because there is no reason to bump that money. What happens is the moment you start doing that, you will get the first moment of truth that, hey, how come a lot of ads that we design, we have a central character where a man is there? And this is genuinely, I have noticed that subtly, the moment we open Shutterstock, the first thing the brain takes is a man's picture. And the moment you start doing this also, you will see the metrics that we have been boasting all about. Let's say CTR,
Right.
click-through rates. We have been always boasting about CTRs. I saw a very recent thing. Men CTRs are plus 1%, women CTRs are minus 0.5%, which made me push my design efforts. Now my women designs are way better than men's design, because that gives me a complete reality check that, hey, looks like women are more towards, they have a better understanding towards art, maybe. That's why the CTRs are pretty low. So until unless I do that, I'm not getting any moment of truth. And it's just non-gender exclusive or whatever you may call, it's just working in a very haphazard way. So yeah.
Great. I'm so glad you touched base upon that. Most people don't, and I'm actually glad that you touched base upon that. One last question before I hit the chat section. See, copywriting plays a huge role when it comes to creating the content, creating marketing, anything, anywhere you go, copywriting is important. Are there any folks that you would suggest that, you know, these are the people you should follow for copywriting, or any books, any resources that you would suggest
So
on the top of your mind?
for copywriting, there's a great course by Brian Dean,
Okay.
Briandean, and it's a backlinko course. So it's backlinko. If you just go and write backlinko copywriting, it's a full-fledged free course that he has mentioned. That is by far the best free course I have seen till date. This is one.
Okay.
Second, there are two different kind of stuff. What happens is a lot of folks confuse between content writing and copywriting. There's a big difference. The content writing works in a lot of B2B scenarios, product communication scenarios and stuff. But the moment you do copywriting, it is more creative. And generally what I have felt, and a lot of my colleagues feel also, is copywriting thinking does not come from the subject matter that you study. It generally comes from the off subject matters. So if I'm playing music, my inspirations are from reading lyrics. So if I'm into philosophy, my inspirations are from reading those very complex wordings and trying to break down on my mind. So I have a regime that, hey, every time I try to read something else, my mind clicks and something else comes up. So for an example, this Olympics concept, let's say, if you try to follow the MBA design framework, design thinking framework, you will not be able to crack this because the absurdity is not taught in any existing framework. So I will suggest these two things. Be as absurd as you can. Watch as many memes as you can. That's great. And study this. It's good. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Let's hit the chat section and take some questions from there. Okay. Thanks over there. All right. So first question is from Shreya. Shreya, if you're still here, could you unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, hi Divya. Thank you so much, Sindhu, for doing this. I had actually two questions in mind. Since we're talking about gender ratio, I wanted to understand any product that, for example, Bumble, which is also a dating app, which has taken a stance to be woman-led, women-based. Do you think they are at a better position or have a better gender ratio or usage? Is that something that would work in such a thing? Another thing that I wanted to understand was any product that's community focused or community based, right? There also, do you think shareability is a better metric than number of community members or followers? Should we focus, not put much weightage on the number of followers for community based products? So these two are my questions.
Got it. Thanks, Shreya. First things, I have no idea about Bumble's backend dashboard, so I won't comment on that. But Bumble is a different use case. The founder's mission was to create an app for women first, because there exists no dating apps. So that's a whole different concept altogether. It's in the product mission. It's in the company's mission. For sure, I'm guessing they might be having a marginal improvement. I don't feel Bumble is having, honestly, 90% female users and 10%, or an 80-20, or even a 70-30. Max to max 50-50, but maybe a 40% female and a 60% male. Because the nature of the business, no matter wherever Bumble promotes, the nature of the ads is ads are designed to spend maximum amount of money to the male. Male CPIs are extremely low as 20 rupees, 30 rupees when you do a massive campaign. And women CPIs are around 150 rupees, 160 rupees. So the moment you create an ad on the Facebook platform or somewhere else and you say that, hey, my budget is 1 lakh, basically you are telling the algorithm that, hey, 1 lakh ke andar, give me maximum volume. And they cannot give you volume by prioritizing women unless you just create women as a campaign. So I don't think that is happening anytime soon. And that is why we do a women specific campaign very differently, male specific campaign very differently, so that we have a better control. I think it's a mandatory thing for social media, because you cannot create social networking app in India by running, you can call it gender unified campaigns or something like that. So that is one. Second is there are two different things. I believe I look at social media as a distribution channel that whose only role is to solve two things for any app. One, to decrease cost of consumer acquisition cost, CACs in the longer time, because my paid CAC is supposed to be high. The social media's job is to decrease by 10 rupees, 20 rupees every 6 months or something like that. So the reason we do that is that one. Second is obviously to do a branding, to have a very solid brand on the social media. Community is a sub part of social media. So for an example, the moment you create an Instagram channel, you can see that, hey, we are a product specific community on an Instagram channel, and our job is we are only community for product managers in India. Done. The reason is you have put a barrier on that. You cannot treat it as a distribution channel. So the share model may not work in that, but the share model will work when you're starting up new. For an example, if I have to start a marketing community today, and I have taken a 2-month timeline to get all the marketers on board, if I do not chase share metric, my timelines will look 6 month, 7 month, 8 month. I will be keeping on chasing because I cannot get all the people on board. So shareability only works till that time when you are trying to build distribution. Once you have built the distribution, you have a community. It does not work. However, I learned a pretty interesting thing. 2 months back, I was hanging out with CMOs of big startups. Someone told me there is a phrase called as I'll type it out: community commitment curve. This is pretty interesting that I learned. I am still researching on it. I'll just type it out. I will suggest you guys to Google it. It is pretty interesting. And maybe we can have a chat later on if anyone cracks this and give a presentation around it. I'll be more than happy because I'm also still learning. So yeah, that's all I have learned till date.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot. Pretty interesting. Yeah.
Thanks, Riya.
Okay, this I have to read out. Chandramohan said the AHA score was pretty damn high on this one. I'm with him. He enjoyed the session. Okay, so yeah, next question is from Abhay. Abhay, if you're still here, could you please unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
So I had this question since I am an into early stage startup. I'm the founder, and it's a innovative reading platform. It's into stories. So I just wanted to ask, what are some the best organic methods to grow, as we do not have enough money right now. But then yes, creativity can solve the problem, and I love the concept of combining two variables, like being as absurd as possible. So what other methods would you suggest us, to go viral?
Can you tell me what's your DAUs, if it's okay? A rough figure.
So yeah, we just launched about 7 days ago. We got 100 plus downloads, and I think that right now the current installs on the Google Play is around 60, 70, 30 installs which happened. So yeah.
Got it. I would rather suggest that the moment you are growing, let's say you have 100 people, talk to those 100 people, spend at least 5 minutes of your time so that they are absolutely, so convert them into super fans, increase their delight trust score to that level, that give them a free benefit or something and tell them to refer you. So the only thing organically, I think, that works when you are at this small stage genuinely is a referral. That is one. Not a referral mechanism on a product. That takes a lot of time to crack. Referral could be as simple as creating a WhatsApp group, 100 people, giving them benefit, trying to help them out. You are doing reading, right? So let's say just organize reading sessions every week, and then tell people that, hey, why don't you suggest books to each other or reading materials to each other on Twitter or on somewhere else, and just keep that practice. So just try to think of certain ways from a community angle. That is one. Second, from a channel perspective, the reading community is pretty big on Instagram. Try to leverage that. Try to partner with a lot of reading or these writing channels. There are a lot of writing channels who give a story shout out for 200 rupees. That is the cheapest thing that you can crack right now. Do an
Right.
outreach program, put 10,000 rupees in an Excel sheet, divide that 10,000 rupees into 200 by how many influencers that you can get.
Right.
Do that versus getting someone on board and boosting your own content, because that is not the need of that right now. So just
Got
try
it.
to put your thoughts according to that which gives you faster outreach, and you will get some context around that.
Makes sense. And also how to actually, like go up. It is the act of Googling and finding out these influencers, or are there any tools wherein I can use that and leverage that to find that list of certain influencers in the writing or the reading space?
So this is where just your stalking skills come into place. Just go to
Okay.
Instagram, think that whoever is writing, what are the hashtags they use. Generally people use
Right.
Indian writers. Just put the
Right.
hashtags, you will see one. Just keep on doing, just chase the rabbit hole, you'll be able to find. But if I give you a very specific answer, go to Instagram, not Google, and start trying out hashtags. That's the only way.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sindhu.
Thanks.
All right, then. That was great. Now, next question is from Atishri. Atishri, if you're here, could you please ask your question?
Hi, thank you, Divya. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
All right, perfect. So that was a great session, Sindhu. First of all, I'd like to thank you for that. I've been in the industry for a while, and I'm into the fintech domain, product management. So my question is pertaining to especially investment app products, which are focused to women, focused for women only. And I'm taking the example of Elvest. Elvest is a USA-based, USA app based for women investments only. My experience have been into moment marketing and contextual marketing via AI models earlier as well. But it has been my experience as well, as you've mentioned in earlier, that the CTR ratio, female to male ratio, we see in the numbers as well. CTR is pretty poor for the female, even though we've designed the, campaigns around women only. Now, I see that Sally Krawcheck company, Elvis, though they focus only on women, for the investment products, but they try to come off as gender neutral. So I'd like your views on that, because you cannot be totally gender neutral when you're focusing a particular gender for your investment product, a financial product for that matters.
So one thing is, I have not seen the product communication, so I cannot pinpoint towards that. But if the product is only women, I don't know what is the objective of being gender neutral. Maybe they do not, by gender neutral, it could be that they want to be inclusive towards the other LGBTQ community and not the men community. Maybe that could be not a product call. That could be a corporate communication vision or something like that. Still not sure, but I don't see any reason of doing that. It does not solve any purpose in terms of marketing our product. If it solves a purpose in the mission, that's a different call altogether. Second point on the CTR's part, I'm still struggling with that. Yes, the designs. So I have seen marginal winnings when I improve the design, but this is what I'm seeing lately. But I'll try to share if I have a better win. Is that designs are not mattering a lot when I'm running female specific ads in India, at least. What is now mattering is the social proof, the trust score, the first line I use in my copywriting, and the writing inside the image. I'll give you one very small example. So there was one ad where there are two couples, married couples inside that, where the copywriting said that, hey, if you want to if you want compatible matches, try our app. I simply flipped that. I wrote that 5 lakh plus women have rated us 4.5 on App Store, and we have done 20 shadis in last 5 months. My CTRs drastically changed to 0.2 to 0.3%, while everything remained the same. now looks like that we need to throw out more social proofs and trust, because my reasoning is this: maybe women in India are tired of trying out all the apps that does not work, because there are a lot of fake profiles. There are a lot of ghosting, conning, and everything happens. Hence, trust is low. On the other side, men's trust has not been hampered towards that extent yet, especially in the dating and matrimony category. So that is the reason I feel that the copywriting needs to have a lot of trust score inside that. It could be much better. That might be on the investment side as well. So the copywriters in your team maybe need to find out what is the specific pain points in the investment category for women. I don't know what it is. I cannot speak for women because I don't know. But I think copywriting can solve it. Maybe.
All right. Atishri, I hope that helped.
Well, anyways, thanks, Sindhu. However, the question was a little different one, but I get the part where you're just talking about the copywriting and content.
Right.
I think Elvest has kind of hit the nail on that, and they are doing pretty well. I more looking towards so what works for the US doesn't work for India market, and doesn't the same doesn't work in the UK market. And here the target is India, so it's slightly different. I think the numbers speak itself in terms of investment app choices by women, whether it's the traditional, Grow, Zerodha, or PayTm Money, or ET Money apps. So we can see the numbers in there on the trust level of women into investment funds. So I think there's something else as well to crack there. And a lot of it would be in the inclusion part, financial inclusion part, that needs to be included in the copy. I think, and more different, target-based contextual advertising would be rather helpful here to, improve the numbers. But I take your feedback on the copy part as well. Thank you.
Sure. I have made a note of this company as well. I'll surely check the plot comms.
Yeah,
thanks for this.
Sure do.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Atishri. Thank you. All right, moving on. Okay, Gaurav just sent, hey Sindhu, great session, loved it. Okay, there are more questions. We are almost at 7. Do you mind taking a couple more questions?
No, sure. We can.
All right. Okay. So again, Shreya has asked a question. Shreya, you want to unmute yourself? I
think Sindhu will kill me now. I'm irritating.
Okay, you go ahead and ask the question. I think I missed one. I'll ask after this.
Sure. Since you are here and we are at this age where we talk a lot about this, I wanted to understand how is it going on the app, and what are the patterns and new trends you're seeing in terms of people choosing to arrange marriage for themselves now. This is something we talk a lot about in our circle as well, and how we need to change the process of arranged marriage in itself. Right. So any interesting insights or trends there would be fun to know.
Sure. So I think I'm not old enough in the company to share specific trends, because I have not seen. It's been just 1 month, but I'll share some things that I have seen myself. One is, I believe that first of all, the existence and the backing of these companies by VCs is just on one philosophy, that the concept of arrange is changing, because in India we had this specific arrange means parents intervention. It was supposed to be parents driven, while love meant it was supposed to be solo driven. That was specific differentiation. Now, what do you say? There are a lot of Tinder cases also. Now, there are a lot of Bumble cases. Now, Bumble is a dating app, but is also a partial matrimony app, because they have that filter looking for marriages, looking for relationships. Also, now, what do you call that? Where someone finds someone on any app, falls in love, spends time, gets married. That is what an arrange. That is because from a UI UX perspective, it is same arrange only. Shaadi.com gives you leads. You select a lead, you talk to them. Bumble gives you leads only. If I'm allowed to say humans as leads, that's what we are in a philosophical context. But the thing is that is changing, because what happens is there is this one side of industry which is all the matrimony apps, which have very specific parents interventions. Parents can create your profile. The existence of Betterhalf.ai was from this context, that we are giving power into your hands. No one will create profile for you. You create profile for yourself. We are extremely bullish in terms of verification. So you create an account with us, let's say, and in 24 hours, you need to verify a selfie verification. We are trying to bring other verifications as well. If you do not verify, no questions asked, we will delete you. We will delete all the men. We will delete all the women, just to keep only legit people. I don't care about MAUs, DAUs. We just need real people, not bots. Uh, and what happens here is, interestingly, we have started seeing that a lot of urban people whose salary is more than 5 lakhs, this is what I have seen interestingly, want to meet a lot of people. A lot of people means 10, 20 plus, and then come to a conclusion with whom they should be spending a lot of time, and then take a decision. This number is decreasing, that I've seen recently. By decreasing, it basically means that nowadays people do not want to meet 20 profiles. They're not mindless swiping and not talking. 5 selected profiles, I will talk to 5 and then I will take a decision, rather than doing 100 swipes or 100 matches and then talking to haywire and not remembering who does what, and then forgetting how other people I talked to last week. So this is changing. This is getting very, very serious. With time, we have seen 24 years of people coming on platform. And so we have a feature called as looking to settle, where basically is you can come and say that, hey, I'm looking to settle in next 2 years. So that if a man is there who wants to settle in 6 months, he won't come and tell you that, hey, I want to talk to you, because you are looking to settle after 2 years. Now that feature looks like extremely beneficial, because I can be in my 24s and I can take a long time to decide that, hey, I want to marry after 3 years. It's absolutely okay. Does not mean that for the first 3 years I need to casually date. So this thing is slowly changing, because people are tired of hookups. That's why you will see a lot of a lot of women. Half of the women on Tinder have a campaign going on, not here for hookups. That's a great tagline, Ulta. So that itself is just testimony that there is a pinpoint there. And these are the trends that we see, especially on the hookup part. This is a very big pain point that is happening right now on the women part.
I agree. I agree.
Well,
Thanks for that, Sindhu. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And I hope you managed to crack the code at Betterhalf. And
let's see. It's very hard.
It is difficult. It is absolutely difficult.
We'll be users in the future for sure if that happens.
See, even if you don't, here is my model, that I genuinely feel that no one marries offline. Even if you don't find someone on the offline, half of the job is done by Instagram and Facebook. So they are pseudo matrimony sites, because they are the one who are giving you the leads. So yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that was great. Thank you for sharing those insights, and loved the whole session. And I think we've learned a lot. I definitely did. You definitely pointed out a few mistakes that we've been making here as well. Thank you so much for taking out time on a Sunday evening to do this session with us. Really appreciate it. And all the best. And I hope you had a good time as much as we did with you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying till the end and not leaving in between. And if anyone left, I hope that I did justice. Thank you so much, Divya, for having me here. It was great to talk to your community.
Thank you. I hope to see you around on Creators of Products. And this was fun. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in on a Sunday. And there's lots more to come. And I definitely hope to see you all on the community.
Yes, Sunday is getting over. So have fun. And happy
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.